Hey guys, it's time to do some maintenance on the boat. I order a 100-hour kit and I do it once a year. I don't put 100 hours on the boat, or not so much on the boat, but on the engine. So I do it prematurely, but just once a year for me, that kind of covers it. And I'll kind of show you how I do it here. But I actually just order a kit right from Parts VU. They have pretty inexpensive, when you compare prices, a kit that includes everything. And what we have is the engine oil filter, the fuel filter, 4 spark plugs, 2 quarts of YamahaLube, lower gear case oil, and the engine oil, 5W30 YamahaLube. All right, well, here's the basic tools that you need to get this job done, to do the lower unit, engine oil, spark plugs, and fuel filter. And I'll list everything in the description of the exact part numbers, but here's the pump I use to fill up the lower unit. You need a flat blade screwdriver for the lower unit drain and vent plugs. You need a 14 mil with a small extension for the engine oil drain plug. Here's what I use to remove the oil filter, which I'll have the part number in the description. For the spark plugs, I got some feeler gauges to set the gap. Obviously a ratchet, torque wrench, a 5/8 socket for the spark plugs, no longer extension, and a 10 mil for the ignition coils. And obviously I have a funnel and a catch can to drain the oil into. So it makes it pretty easy when you order the kit. You know you have everything. It also includes the drain plug gaskets too, so you pretty much have everything you need. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'll do the lower unit first and work my way up to the engine oil and then spark plugs and fuel filter. Then we'll be on our way. So I got the engine earmuffs on here. I'd highly recommend that you do that. And then the hose just goes to the back here, plugs in, and pumps the water right through the engine. I'll let it run for about 5-10 minutes, let it warm up. Definitely makes the oil come out a little quicker, and all the oil comes out at that point. So I'll go ahead and do that for a few minutes and get everything warmed up, and then we'll start draining the oil. Should be warmed up, and then we'll go ahead and start the lower unit oil change. All right, so we got the engine warmed up, and now we're going to go ahead and get the oil out of the lower unit. And what you want to do is tilt it up, because the drain bolt is actually towards the bottom here, and you want it to be the lowest point. If anything, I might have to go down a little bit, but if I could get you to look underneath here, there is a flat blade drain bolt there, and then there's a fill bolt up here. And the little trick to this is actually you want to take the bottom one out. No oil should come out until the vent plug up top is opened up. Yeah, so go ahead and take the bottom one out first, and once you're ready for the oil to come out, you'll take the top one out. Okay. Well, I lied about the oil coming out, but you see it's just a little bit. Once I take off this this top one, it's going to come out much quicker. Oh, there we go. The top one's out, and we're gonna go ahead and let this drain for a while. The oil actually looks really good. As I mentioned in the beginning, I change this with less than 100 hours for sure. So typically it looks pretty decent. So the bottom drain plug is actually magnetic, and there's a small gasket on it too that we're going to change out. But what you want to do is go ahead and clean it off. You know, there usually is a little bit of metal filings on it, but this one's pretty clean. I'll just clean it up, and we should be good to go at that point. And there's the gasket there. I'll go ahead and get another one, which comes in the kit, by the way. So I got my 2 new gaskets that come in the kit, and the top and lower bolts get a new gasket. So I'll go ahead and throw those right on. So when it comes time to fill up the lower unit back with oil, you actually do it from the drain bolt and pump it up to the top. And what we have here is a kit that I could show you in the beginning of the video of all the part numbers of what I use, but it's an 8mm little fitting that gets threaded into the drain bolt area. Then obviously the other part goes into the quarts of gear oil to pump into the lower unit. So I'll get that set up right now. All right, we'll go ahead and start pumping. Once the oil comes out of the vent hole, then we're going to be good to go here. And this takes a little while. These pumps aren't real fast. All right, so we'll tighten these up, and that should be it. Okay. All right, we'll get started on changing the engine oil at this point. The cowling's pretty easy to remove. Clip in the back, and the same one up front. And then you just kind of pick it up from the vents and pull it off that way. All right. So that's about all you gotta do to get ready. There is guys that tilt it up, remove the drain plug at that point, which the oil will not come out until you bring it back down. I do it a little bit differently. I just put a little bungee strap on this funnel right next to the drain bolt, and it's just as easy. This bolt here is a 14 mil, and I'll go ahead and pop that off and get the oil draining, and hopefully not make too much of a mess. But I'm a pretty big cardboard guy. I always have cardboard on the bottom. All right, and there she goes. Looks pretty clean. There is a washer on these drain bolts, which the kit comes with a new one as well. So make sure that comes out with your bolt, and it always has with me. So I'll go ahead and let that drain for a few minutes, and I'll come see you guys after that. All right, it's drained long enough. It's just trickling out at this point. So we'll go ahead and put the drain bolt back in. This bolt in particular gets torqued to 27 Newton meters. And this is the old washer, which could probably be reused, but the kit comes with a new one, so we'll go ahead and throw it on. $27 Newton meters isn't a lot, I'll tell you that much, but it's never been an issue torquing it to that, and so it should be good. All right, now that we got the oil drained, we do have to remove the oil filter, which would be, I'd call this the left side of the engine, towards the back here. And I have a oil filter socket, and I'll provide the part number for that, and at either the beginning or in the description, but you'll be able to find it. So what we have to do now is just loosen it up. It shouldn't make too much of a mess given that it's in this position. Okay, and I'll just wipe off the extra that came out there, and we should be good to go. All right, we got the new filter. I'm not going to bother putting any oil on the O-ring because it comes pre-greased from the factory, which is obviously nice. All right, we'll tighten this up, and then we'll be able to put our oil back in. The engine takes 3.2 quarts with the oil change, including the oil filter. All right, we're at the back of the engine. Remove the fill plug, which is at the top here. Bright yellow, can't miss that. We'll get our funnel. Let me just wipe off the bottom here. And she goes in. Then we'll go ahead and put close to 3 quarts, and then we'll check it. All right, we'll fill up, probably get close to 3 liters, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, to check the oil level, you come on the right side of the engine, and then there's a dipstick right there. So I'll go ahead and put you guys down and see where we're at. This should be pretty close. We'll clean it off nice. Put it all the way back in, pull it out, and we're pretty close. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but we're probably 60%. So I'll go ahead and put a little bit more in. All right, we put a little bit more in. All right, we're right at the top there, which is just what I want to see. Usually what I'll do, I'll go out for a while and I'll check the oil again and top it off if I'm still a little bit low. So to get access to the spark plugs, it's pretty simple. There's a plastic cover here. Just pull back towards yourself. That comes off. And then you have your individual coil packs. Remove those, and then the spark plugs behind that. So we'll get started on that. The bolts to remove the coils are 10 mils. All right, once you got the bolts off the ignition coils, you simply just pull back and they pop right out. So I'll go ahead and do one at a time. So the spark plugs they give you is the NGK LK-R6E. And according to the manual, they're supposed to be gapped to 0.8 or 0.9 millimeters. So I have a 50 and a 40 millimeter feeler gauge, and I just make sure it has some resistance, and I'll set them all to 0.9. All right, we'll get the first one out. It's a 5/8 socket that I'm using for the spark plugs. All right, so they actually look perfect, but like I said, I changed them a little bit early. The ignition coil bolts get tightened to 8 Newton meters. All right, well, last but not least, here is the fuel filter, and that's also on the back of the engine. And what I do, since you got to twist it quite a few times to get it off the base here to expose the filter, I usually just unplug this so it doesn't get all twisted up. Okay, so that comes off. And if you want to, you could actually take it right off the bracket here. And this just twists off. It might be a little bit stiff in the beginning. Okay. And I'll just set it right down there, and that is your filter right here, which just comes off there. So that's a filter you're changing. All right, there's the new filter. We just put it right in like we took it off. Okay. Then the base just twist on like we took it off. Make sure you get the threads lined up. All right, so I got that on. I'll put it back on the bracket and make sure your wire is not too twisted up, and then we can plug it back in. And that just sits at the bottom there. All right. So what I'll do at the end here, I usually put my earmuffs back on. I'll start it up. I'll look for oil leaks and fuel leaks. And if everything looks good, then yeah, we're ready to hit the lake. Well, thank you, and if you have any questions, let me know.